Hi, Phoebe.
So where are you right now?
I am currently in Seattle, Washington. I'm shelter in placing with my sister and her husband and her two kids.
So for Seattle, when did you guys start quarantine?
About 45 days ago. So,
You counted the days.
yes, one, two, yeah.
How did you feel when you first started quarantine?
In psychology, there are 5 stages of grief. So
Okay.
there's denial. This won't be too long. It's fine. We'll be back to normal soon. There's anger. Okay, this is getting annoying. Let's hurry this up. There is bargaining. Okay, if I stay and I'm really good, then can we be out in a month? Then there's depression. Like, oh man, this is hard. This is sad. I'm grieving so many things I've lost. And finally, there's acceptance. Like,
Mhm.
okay, this is a situation. We're just gonna make the best of what we can. And you can cycle through all of these even in one day. In the beginning, there was, okay, whatever we need to do to flatten this curve, because I want to be a responsible human that cares about all of humanity. And now I'm grateful to be in a space where I am with my family. In these times, you really realize what matters most. And
I want to ask you for the people who have to probably live with their housemates or friends, family, or how do you manage your relationship with them during this time when you have to spend 24 hours with them
right,
every single day?
yes, we have a lot of our old coping skills taken away from us. We can't leave and go somewhere else. This is a really important opportunity to kind of first get really clear on what your boundaries are and what you need. For example, I know that there are some roommates struggling because one roommate's like, I'm going to stay at home, shelter in place. The roommate's like, I'm not taking this that seriously. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go on dates. I'm going to do things. I'm going to live my life. And then it's like, oh no, what do you do when someone else's actions violate your request for them to honor your boundary? So if your roommate insists on going out, please, like, can you request, can you wear a mask, can you wear gloves, can you sanitize when you get home, can you take a shower when you get home, can we sanitize everything? Or, and if they're like, nope, I don't care, first of all, you got a really inconsiderate roommate. They will teach you more about who they are, which will give you more information in the future on how close you want to be with this person. But also you can do what you need to do so that you feel more at peace. If you need to sanitize things, if you need to stay in your room, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself to manage your anxiety, to honor your boundaries, to take care of yourself, you do that. There's no manual what to do when there's a pandemic. Literally, we're all figuring this out as we go, and we're discovering in the process what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And the moment we realize something doesn't work for us, it's time to speak up and to do what you can to take care of yourself.
Well, for those who live by themselves, what are your suggestions for them to deal with their loneliness?
Hmm. Loneliness is a real thing. And first, letting yourself feel the grief of that. Sometimes when an uncomfortable feeling comes up, we try and numb it and make it go away. We distract ourselves. People turn to substances, to alcohol. It's okay. You're allowed to comfort yourself. And at what point is the comfort that you're seeking becoming more harmful than helpful? This is an opportunity to start to reach out, to connect, to reconnect. I've heard stories about people who have reached out and reconnected with the people who they haven't spoken to in years. And so in some ways, it's reconnecting people and bringing them back closer together than they would have had none of this happened.
You can also do some activities for yourself to do something you're passionate about, read a book, discover your hobby.
What do you do in this time that you have now? And so a couple things about this. The first thing is, FYI, you don't have to do anything. The world is currently in a collective state of trauma. We are all experiencing a lot of grief. And this is bringing up old grief that maybe we didn't have to deal with in the past, but that we're being forced to deal with now. And that's a lot. So the
Mm.
first invitation is to be gentle with yourself, like to not put pressure on yourself.
When I first started being in the quarantine mode, all I did was just watching Netflix all day, all night. Very unmotivated to do anything. If I do want to find my motivation back, what do I do?
Okay, great question. I've heard of a lot of people actually rewatching old shows because they are familiar. Right now, we don't know what's going to happen. It can be very comforting to, like, I know exactly what happens in this episode of Friends or The Office, right? Like, if that comforts you, it comforts you. Again, we all are processing this different. And so find what feels comforting for you, soothing for you, and do that. And you will reach a point where it's like, Okay, now this is not really helping me as much. I want to do something else. And the moment you start to feel like that, that's when you're like, but I don't feel motivated to do anything. And here's the answer to that. Do one thing, one small, tiny thing. If you're watching Netflix and suddenly you're like, wow, I haven't moved my body in a while. I should exercise. The second you think that, you stand up and you do one jumping jack, just one, because you have to start small. You get your motivation back by building momentum, and you build momentum by doing it one step at a time, but not to shame yourself. So the common acronym for shame is should have already mastered everything. So if you look back at that time, you're like, I'm ashamed I did that. Wait, hold on a second. Should have already mastered everything. Did you know then what you know now? It's not fair to compare that old part of you that did that to the part of you now that knows better now.
How do we plan our life? Just a short-term plan like during this pandemic.
In general, pandemic or no pandemic, we can try and plan our lives. And sometimes life has a completely different plan in store for us. So in this space, you can have intentions. When this pandemic ends, I have the intention of traveling again. Where will I go? And then you can think about that. But in terms of the short-term plan, for example, like right now, for many who have lost their jobs, they would like to find another source of income. What can I actually control? What can I actually do? Who can I actually reach out to? You can start building in small habits each day to work towards that.
So a lot of people have probably lost their jobs or maybe even lost their family or friends, which is really sad. And a lot of people have to deal with anxiety or fear.
I'm going to offer a couple things. The first offering is it's okay to not always be strong. When we are in times like this, where for people who are grieving the loss of a loved one and not even allowed to see them again, it's okay to not be strong, because this is what makes us human. We're not made to be robots. Emotions are energy and it needs to move through us. If we try and clamp down on it, shove it down, pretend it doesn't exist, pretend we're okay, it will build in our bodies. It's been shown scientifically that if you repress your feelings and don't express them, that you can get physically ill. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, she discovered that the purest form of a human emotion takes 90 seconds. It cannot last in your body at that level of intensity for longer than 90 seconds. And so many people spend so much of their lives running away from 90 seconds of sadness, of anger, of fear. If you can breathe and let that feeling be there, in 90 seconds, it will change, I promise. But don't let the emotion take over the wheel of your life and crash into like a tree, right? One exercise I give my clients is if your fear starts saying, what if, like if you can change that from what if to if then. So if your fear is saying, what if I get sick? Then you can change that to if then. If I get sick, then I will go get treated.
So one thing can cause a lot of people anxiety, which actually caused myself anxiety, is watching those news about Asian hate crime. So how do you prepare yourself, or how do you respond when you get attacked in real life?
Now, there are so many incidences of racism against Asians, and all the closet racists are coming out. For some, it's a fear of the virus. For some, it's an excuse to have permission to be racist against Asians. First things first, safety, safety, safety. If someone is physically coming towards you, so you can actually like put out your hand and say, stop. Like keep the words very simple, keep the words very clear. Stop as a command. Like say it assertively, say it loudly, stop. Like not there to get into an argument with them. You're not there to explain why this is incorrect and why they should not be racist, because most people who are doing this are not interested in having a conversation, are not capable of having a conversation. If you're in a position where someone continues towards you, for one, is there anyone else around in this scenario? Can you move to a place where you're safe? Also, another thing that I do recommend is to protect yourself by having some form of accountability. Thank goodness these days we have phones which record and improve and have a record of what's happening. There's the phone evidence. There's their face. There's accountability. Again, pick and choose your battles. If it's a little old lady on the other side of a parking lot screaming names at you, all right, it's really annoying. Picking and choosing your battles. Am I safe? Yes. Does it hurt? Ouch. Yeah, like that sucks that there are people like that. Does it teach you a lot more about her and where she's at than it says anything about you? Yeah. Is it something that you want to say something about, do something about, or do you want to walk away? You choose. What do you feel is right for you to keep yourself safe? And then getting support. Find a community that can support you, that can empathize. You're not alone in this. It also recommend minimizing the amount of information you take in because it can make you even more anxious. When it comes to survival, for people who've experienced trauma, and so many Asians in our histories and our passed on generationally, we've inherited trauma. The things that our ancestors have been through, the things that our parents have been through, the things that our grandparents have survived through. And when you have experienced trauma and then you're faced with a life-threatening thing, or what's like, I don't want to go outside. What if I get attacked? Sometimes we can go into the 5 Fs. So there's fight, flight, and freeze, which most people have heard about. Like you want to fight back, you freeze, you don't know what to do, you flee, you run away. There's also fawn and feign. So fawning is when you try and make the person who's hurting you feel better so that they stop hurting you. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you're not feeling, what do you need? Can I take care of you? Are you okay? Are you okay? Let me be extra nice so that you'll care about me and not want to hurt me anymore. A lot of people do this even in relationships. Oh, feigning is a survival mechanism. It's a reaction to trauma. And feigning is by pretending that you're very small and very weak so that you don't get any more hurt. It's maybe someone shouting at you and you being like, okay, I'll just take it. Okay, it doesn't really bother me. I'm okay. Like pretending so that they stop hurting you. But if you have choice, what can you do to protect yourself? If you go out, can you go out with a friend? If you go out, can you go out in well-lit spaces where you're alert, where there are large groups of people? And again, nothing is going to guarantee keep you safe, but you can do things that you have control over to keep yourself safer.
We also need to educate the rest of Americans or people around the world. It's really important. If you have a voice, you need to speak up to tell them what the truth is.
Everything that we believe is something that we've learned.
Right.
From the news, from our families, from culture, from religion, from politics. The good news is we can unlearn it and we can learn something different. There's so much misinformation. What is the actual truth? At least one person hears that's when things can start to shift.
Love it. Thank you so much for having this talk with me.
Anytime, honey, anytime.